Hi, this is Learn With Me, where I attempt to write a subgenre of music that I've not attempted to write before. Today I'm trying classic house, also known as Chicago house or garage house, and it's really the foundation of all house music. Characteristics are usually synthesized riffs, emphasis on groove, percussive elements, and influences from disco. Artists such as Mr. Fingers, Shay Demnia, Ron Trent, and Marshall Jefferson are just some of the artists that I've listened to for inspiration. Now, if you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll notice a difference. I'm now beardless. Well, I'm got some stubble now, but yeah, big change. Big change for me anyways. Looking in the mirror, I didn't recognise myself for a little bit. I'll be using Ableton Live for this session. So what I want to first start off by doing is getting our drums in, and I'm going to go with the old classic 808 because that was very typical of the time. Yeah, that sounds quite fitting. So what I want to do is to start with a kick drum initially and try get that sound really punchy and big. And obviously this is going to be a modernized classic house song, so we could have used the 707 or 808 or 909 for the kind of 80s sound, but I'm a big fan of the 808 mainly because that kick drum has got such a subbiness to it. And obviously this will be modernized because we're using Ableton and not drum machines and samplers, which is what they would have been doing in the 1980s. So I'm going to push this up to 120 BPM. That's cool. I'm going to adjust this slightly. I'm using Ableton 12, which I'm pretty new to. I've not really dived deep into the new features at all. I like adding that drive to it. So I'm going to kind of start with the drop initially, like the big kick, the kick drum and a bass line, and then I'm probably going to work backwards to kind of construct the intro, and then from there go back to the drop and slowly build it up, adding some hi-hats and some claps as well. And for the bass, I want to use my Korg Monologue, which has got quite a fitting 80s sound, I feel. At least some of the sounds in there kind of feel like they should fit this genre nicely. So let me just try find a sound. I'm just going to go through the presets and try find a sound that could work quite nice. I like the sub of that, it's really nice. Let's see how that's going to sound over the kick. I'm just going to go ahead and actually record that in as well. What I want to do now is go back to this kick and let's make it sound a bit bigger, and I think I'm going to use the old plugin that I use for pretty much every video, which is the Waves Magma BB Tubes. I use this on everything because it's a saturator and it just works really well. So solo the drums. Put beauty up, push beat up, and again, I've mentioned this in a previous video, but it has this great feature called bass relief, and if you push it up, it kind of rescues that low end again. Let's turn it on and off to see the difference. So that's without, and that's with. Yeah, that's sounding really good. And let's listen to it with this bass. I'm also going to add BB tubes to the bass line, using that bass relief again. Yeah, I'm liking that so far. I think what I want to try do is probably try come up with some kind of melody to come up with it. I mean, a lot of the classic house tracks have these, they use a lot of samples, a lot of either vocal lines or Some classic house also took from disco, so you get like the claps and things like that, and sometimes they even took from funk as well, so you might hear a bit of a guitar in there or electric bass. But I think with this I kind of want to keep it all synthesized for this version. So I'm going to go back on the monologue. I don't know why I keep calling it the monologue, and try find another sound that is going to fit nicely as like maybe a melody or something, or maybe some chords as well. So let's go through some of the sounds again. Yeah, I like that. What I'm doing is keeping the decay really low and then slowly releasing it. So I'm going to start that. Once it goes do 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 do, I'm going to loop that and then I bring in this over it, which I think would be quite cool, like a slow build up. So what I want to first do is loop that section. Yes, I'm going to loop that loads of times, and I'm just going to go ahead and record this. Some of that's quite usable. Kind of loving it and hating it at the same time, but let's see what we can do with it. What I want to do is, I think once we get maybe 8 bars into it, I think I want to add a hi-hat part. Let's do closed hat on the offbeat. What I'm going to do as well is I'm going to add a low cut onto this bass until the kick comes in, and then have the full frequency just to get a more impact as well. I'm going to use Waves Q1 for this. Find it a very good EQ because it really lets you drop down a lot with the dB level. So what I'm going to do is automate that low cut. I'm just literally going to have a bypass, so we'll turn this on as soon as that kick hits. Let's have a listen. Subtle, but yeah, I think that's cool. What I want to try do now is try find another sound on the Korg that I can overlay that first part we put down. Okay, so now I'm going to try find another sound that's going to work. These presets are really nice, actually. Well, I'm not sure nice is the right word, but quite fitting. So that could work if I put a low cut on it, which I know some of you might be thinking is a shame because there's some really nice low end on there, but I like that low end we've already got on the track. But let's see what we can come up with. And I'm going to press record again, just in case I come up with something good again. So I liked that very last bit that I came up with, that doo doo doo. So I'm probably just gonna use that for when the hi-hat comes in. Yeah, that's the bit. That's really quite cool. So I'm just gonna copy that, and I might just keep the first little drop down. What it's like if I drop the bass out for that second drop. Okay, I'm going to bring the low cut in for that, for those drops. Once we get to the, when I bring back the original bass, I'm going to put a low cut on this new part during that. And I think what I want to do is when the original bass comes in, I'm going to add some kind of distortion to this new Korg part as well. And for that, I'm going to use Waves Berserk Distortion. I'm also going to get this looping and solo the Korg part. And I'm just going to go through the presets for now. Push the mix up a bit. Let's turn Berserk mode on. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm also going to pan these parts just to kind of give more of a stereo image. I'm also just going to loop this bit as well, just to kind of give it more of that feeling that it's like sample based. I'm also going to add a low cut to this. Second Korg part we wrote, which is the first kind of melody thing. Be quite harsh with it as well. So at this point, I want to bring in a bigger kick as well. And for this, I might try to use the 909. Let's use the 505. I'm just going to copy the part that we've used for the 808 kit. For the next section, drop everything out and just have the kick drum. But I want to create a new kick part of the 808, and I just want it to be this really in-your-face kick and bring in that slow end in as much as possible. Yeah, like that, just really full on. So maybe I have the 505 kit in there as well. I think I want to make this a little bit quicker as well. So I'm going to go up to, I'm going to push up 5 BPM. So although I didn't name them in the influence part, I did listen to a bit of Paul Johnson. He's got this song called Feel My MF Bass, and it's got this kind of really raw kick drum, quite subby. Kind of reminds me of like the Jason Nivens, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but a Jason Nivens remix of It's Like That, which is the Rum DMC song. And again, that same old, it's just that kick and the bass, like there's something really, really cool and primal about that. So that's my influence for this section. So what I think we need with that kick drum is something that's like in the higher range as well. Maybe like a hi-hat bit, a little section, but I think I need a new kit. So I'm going to create another drum layer. Maybe a 606 might do the job. So I've added like a second little drum. I've added like a second kick at the end of each phrase. Sounding cool. Also want to do is go to the 606, and I want to push it really hard again. So I'm going to use the BB Tubes plugin again for this. There's some really interesting low end on this kit as well. But for now, I'm just going to put a low cut because we've already got so much bass going on. I'm just going to use the Waves Q1 again, because I love bass, but you usually have to be careful with it. Yeah, that's cool. I'm going to push that drive back a little bit. In fact, I'm going to take this one, just take out the first part of it. Yeah. That's cool. Thinking like it's almost like a call and response. I'm just going to cut this up as well and see if I can make it sound interesting as well in the little spaces. I think that last one could maybe work for all those little gaps. In fact, I'm going to use that for a second element. So let me just move all that. In fact, I'm just going to delete that. Copy this, paste it, and then for the first bit, remove those little sections, and then it will build up. And then I also want to build up the drums for this next section. So maybe have some more hi-hats. Change the velocity a little bit to make it more interesting. Actually, I'm not sure about that now. I'm going to remove that because the hi-hats on their own is kind of a nice build. So we've got a nice drop there, and I think I want to start finding some kind of like melody element on the monologue again. So I'm going to go through the sounds, try to find something that's going to fit this section. That sounds pretty cool. And changing the envelope is gets that, and then make it all wobbly. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, let's record that. want to do is once it gets to this section, this little sound we have, this sound here, where we've chopped it up, I think I want to pan it back to the center. I think just before this drop, I kind of want to cut out a lot of the low end, so this drop feels bigger. Maybe take the low end out of the drums. So let's go back to add another Q1, set this like a low cut. We can automate this so we slowly lose a bit of low end and comes right back for the drop. Yeah, cool. That works. So for that final bit, I've just taken out that last bar, so it's a clean cut, and then it drops back in to this section. And what I'm going to do is copy this and add in another drum part to make it sound bigger. For this new section, I'll have the new hi-hat already playing. And let's add some cymbals for every hit as well on the 606 kit. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think what I want to do is maybe let's copy this first intro section back to here to drop it down a bit. Okay, what I want to do now is look at some of these drums and maybe add some slight delays to them as well. Let's first look at this part, our second drum part. We first want to get the wet signal back in. Now that's sounding cool. Now let's listen to it in context. Slower that wet signal a bit. Okay, let's see what we can do with the 606 part now. Let's use the J37 plugin, which is like, I think it's also like a saturator slash kind of the delay. And for this, I'm just going to look at presets. Oh, let's just try retro mono. No. Oh, this sounds quite nice. A preset called Overhead 2. So what I want to do now is have a look at this first Korg. Well, it's not the first Korg part, but I want to look at this part. Because I think if we add some delay to that, I'm going to use the Waves H delay again, which is the same one I used for the drums. This plugin's ancient. I remember using this when I was studying music production. I remember using this plugin. That was a long time ago now. Right, let's see what we can get. Get some dry signal back in. Let's also put this analog up as well, because that seems to add quite a nice cool effect. And ping-pong it as well. Okay, yeah, so what I'm going to do is actually create a new part, because right now we've got our original bass on this same track, so I don't want that. So let's separate these, which I should have done originally. Take off the delay on there, so we get the clean, and then we've got the delay on this track. So right now it's sounding, in my ears, it's kind of sounding like a classic house track with like a slight modern edge to it. Maybe there's more of a 90s house sound mixed with the 80s. I'm trying to use like lo-fi sounds that maybe emulate the kind of Chicago house, 80s house sound. But obviously, you know, we're doing it with modern technology, we're doing it in Ableton, and, you know, we're not using samplers or drum machines, so the process is slightly different. But I think what I want to add now, thinking about it, is some kind of more percussive element. Maybe let's try get some kind of, maybe let's try find some kind of percussive samples. So let's go through Ableton's sample bank for that. So percussion. Are there any congas? Oh, there are some congas. So I'm going to create a new MIDI track and drag this Bongo B over. Sounds pretty good. I'm just going to play the track and see if I can come up with some kind of part that works. Most of that was pretty terrible, but I think I can use that very last part that I came up with. I think what I want to do with this bongo part is just have it for the second section. Like that. I'm going to automate and pan this little noise. I'm going to have this going back, going left to right, left to right. Just add a bit of interest. I think what I'd really like to add to this is some kind of vocal sample section, you know, some kind of like shouts. So I'm going to have a look through the Ableton samples and see if there's anything in there that we can maybe use as well. Let's select vocal. I like the little woo there. Let's throw one of those in there for the drop, maybe. Actually, that works surprisingly well. It even kind of sounds like it's in key. Cool, yeah, that works pretty well. I've chopped it up so it's kind of got like a woo woo. I might add a reverb to that and throw on J37, because J37's got this kind of like, it's got this one delay that goes on for a while. Oh yeah, old tape delay. I'm going to automate this, so the first one we hear doesn't have it on it, but the second will. And then again, I'm going to have it so it alternates between it on and off. And that also probably means we're going to get this kind of like, the actual delay will turn off as well. So that might give it this kind of older school sounding, kind of like it's been chopped. So it'll sound a little bit more sample based, hopefully. I'm thinking this might be a bit weird, but I'm kind of tempted to extend this for a little bit just by copying a little bit of it and a little bit of it again. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Maybe for this one, let's extend it even more. Just chop, let's have it a little bit choppy, a little bit random. mean, that was a mistake, but that sounds really cool to continue on as well. Might actually have this on in the intro. Maybe actually we'll have one for the first little drop. So I think that's a pretty good starting point. We've got kind of an intro, we've got a kind of build up section, we've got the drop, there's like 2 sections to that, and then we have it drop back down to the first build up that we had before. So I think what I want to figure out now is create a second drop that's slightly bigger, and we can either do this by adding more drums, or we can add more samples and stuff like that. I think I want to go with the more drums, to be honest, like add some claps in there. So let's do some experimenting and see what we can come up with. So I'm thinking for the very first bit, I'm going to have the kick drum actually hit quite a few times quicker than what we've heard before, just to add a bit of interest, like a boom, 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 boom. I'm going to have that loop every time actually, because that's pretty cool. Quite like that little drop down. That's actually, again, another mistake that worked nicely. Now there's this other sample. This oi kind of interests me as well. Let's see if we can do something with this. And let's also add that J37 delay to this as well, removing any automation there might be. Do is try use this as like a almost transition to this next section. So I'm going to kind of copy this one bit and then have it say oi again once it changes. This might sound horrendous, but let's try it. Yeah, so that actually kind of works all right. And then I think once we get to this, we're going to have the oi come back. Or maybe for halfway through actually, because I quite like how it drops down and you get ooh. Yeah, and I've added that as well. So we've got an oi and it just loops in that section, building it up slowly. Then for the second drop we have that 4/4 click. Maybe let's move that to the second bit. Copying this little glitchy bit as well for this drop, so just add more layers, make it sound thicker. And I think I just want to go a bit crazy for this second last part, or the final drop. So let's add some claps as well. So I'm going to create a new MIDI track. We use a 707 kit and use this clap because we need some claps in there. We haven't got any hand claps yet. Let's extend the length of this. Let's put one on the 2 and the 4. snare. Let's move that to Handclaps. That's sounding really cool. Well, what I'm going to try do is just pitch shift this final, this Korg part an octave higher. That kind of works. So what we need to do is figure out what's going to happen at the end. Maybe just the bass. Just maybe a kick. Cool, and then I'll put an oi at the finishing on one. I'm gonna also turn off the low cut for this last section. Cool, and I just think I want to throw some ois in this very last section to make it a bit chaotic. I think as well, I'm just going to remove some of these woos actually, because I feel like they might get a little bit repetitive. So I think that's a pretty good start to a classic house track. Let me know. I've only just really started looking into the history and the sounds today, really, earlier today, but I really was digging a lot of the songs that I came across, even to the point where some of them I would actually quite happily throw in some of the DJ sets that I do, just because they hold up. You know, some of these songs are 40 years old and they sound great. Maybe not so much on like the sub or the real low end, but they still have a punch to them. And because of that, it's been really cool to dive into this. I think what I'll do is do a quick mastering on it, just use Ozone 11 like I do with the last few videos, and then we'll have a playthrough. feel like my favourite section out of all of it was probably the very final, those last couple of bars where it's just that bass and the kick, and I feel that maybe I should have spent more time developing and working on that maybe, but I don't know, this one's been definitely an interesting one to dive into, because I listen to a lot of house music, but I've never dived into the classic stuff, but it's been really fun too, and kind of learn along the way, and I would like to dive deeper into this, I think. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it anyways. I haven't spent a massive amount of time on this song. It's probably been like maybe an hour and a half in total, but I'm happy with what I've got in there so far. All these songs could always be improved in different ways, and it's all about just diving in and seeing what I can come up with, really. But it's been fun. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. I appreciate all the comments that I've had so far. It's been really lovely to hear people's feedback on things. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.